Alright guys, today is Sunday, October the 27th, somewhere around 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And it's been a long time since I talked to you guys. Let's go. I'm going to give a little update on my vehicles. I walked right by this on the last video and forgot to tell y'all about it. If you remember a few videos back, the brakes went out on this thing. This is still frozen up. Oh yeah, it's not going nowhere. And what I've come to believe is the ABS module. And I've been sitting around trying to figure out how to fix it for a while. Well, anyways, I couldn't find anything wrong with the front brakes because that's what had went out. They locked up. The rear brakes still work. And everything I've read and seen and people I've talked to, it's this ABS module here. Good news is you can get a replacement. Bad news is it's about $1,000. That's just to buy this. You can get them on eBay, I think around $650, but then are you going to have this issue again? So here's a little story time. I had my last Harley Davidson. It was a 2014 Street Glide. And I carried it in for something about the brakes to an old motorcycle shop here in Hattiesburg at the time. The guy said, oh yeah, we can fix whatever it was. It was nothing major. But then he said, does this have ABS on it? And I said, oh yeah, it does. I was kind of proud of it at the time. And he said, well, when I do it, I'll rip all that out for you and we'll fix that. And I was like, but there's nothing wrong with it. And he's like, no, they're pieces of crap and they're, terrible. And let me show you all the failed ones over here. And he showed me a whole box full of stuff. And he said, you'll crash on the highway if it locks up on you, or you'll, won't have any brakes at all if it goes out. And he said, it's common in this year. And I was like, oh man. But then I was like, I think this guy just don't know what he's talking about. So anyhow, I didn't even use him for my other brakes, and I left because he was pretty sure I was going to change those out. And I was like, Well, many years later, after I sold that bike, this one did it to me. And I started doing research on it. And sure enough, it's a piece of crap. And Harley knew about it. And they've had so many things, I thought there should be a recall on it. But there never was. So yeah, you got to flip the bill yourself. But my fear was okay, I put this $1,000 on it. I mean, this bike only has 14,000 miles on it. Is that all I'm going to get before it goes out again? And this time, I mean, I'm telling you, when this went out, I went right through the main intersection of my little town. And just pure lucky, because I didn't have no warning when it happened. And had it locked up, that would have been bad news, because then I would end up sliding into the intersection. But either way, I was looking, they make a bypass kit where you have to kind of put it together yourself, but it probably costs $10 to get the parts for it. Well, anyhow, my problem was I was looking around for a dealership or something, and where I live, there's 3, and they're all about an hour and 20 minutes away from my house. And I don't really have any kind of trailer or anything for my bike, so I was like, man, what am I going to do? So I put a little ad on a little local thing here looking for a mechanic, and there's one in Purvis, which is about 30-40 minutes from my house. But he's backed up like 3 or 4 months. He's just a guy working out of his garage, but everybody thinks real good of him. I don't know why I didn't think of it before. I thought of a place that I'd been to and actually did a video on a while back. I'll try to put the video in the description if I can remember. But it was Hellfighters USA. It's a huge place. It's a cool motorcycle place, but I didn't really know they worked on them there. And they're famous for working on Jeeps, or selling Jeeps and used Harley Davidsons. So I was like, wow, let me call them up. And sure enough, they have a huge service department. And I was like, man, this is 20 minutes away. So then I went down this weekend and talked to them, and they're going to call me back beginning of next week and set up a time. They're going to come pick up the bike, take it down there, and we're going to get this fixed. But what I was happy to say is they do the bypass of it. So I'm going to go with the bypass. The thought of getting locked up again or not locked up again, either one's bad, man. So I'm going that way. And I mean, of course, the price is about $1/4 going that way. So I'll let you know once it gets done. I'll show you how it's done. It's usually done with just some little fittings They basically take this block out, which is just a block of aluminum, and then just attach these fittings. You have to kind of rig it up, but I've seen it done several times, and I'll let you know what it looks like when it gets back and how well it works. But I had run into the same problem with my Jeep. Y'all remember my Jeep? Hang on for a second. Let me get over there to it. I'm charging it up now. It's been sitting for a while. I mentioned on the last episode that the suspension is crap. It's virtually undrivable. So I went out and bought some Rough Country 2.5-inch lift. It's just really springs and shocks. And so I'm going to have them install that too. I'm going to see if that helps with the suspension, and while they're under it, I'm going to get them to look around and see if they see anything that's major, because it actually looks real good underneath to me. And I think it's just got, these things are terrible if they got a high lift, and I think this is it's at least a 4 to a 6-inch lift, I believe. I'm not sure which. I think it's just way too much lift for this Jeep. And all the Jeeps I had before, I had about a 2 or 3-inch lift on them, and they worked perfectly. I mean, they rode like a Jeep, but they still, I'll tell you, this thing is a hazard. I'm dreading driving it there. It still runs and everything, so I can drive it, but I'm not looking forward to it. Let me stick this suspension stuff in the back while I'm thinking about it. I'll be right back. All right, here they are. That's just the 4 shocks. I'll close that back up. And here's a look at the springs. Looks like there's 4 of them in there. Anyhow, bring this to the shop too next week. And let's see what happens on it. If this works out, and I'm going to sell my dad's old car over there. Go ahead and get it cleaned up and ready to go. And I'll start daily driving this thing. I'm telling you right now, it's virtually impossible to drive for any kind of distance. Even out of the neighborhood, it's scary. All right, more in a second. All right, got that loaded up. I don't know if I had showed you my speaker bar or not. To be honest, it's a little overboard. I think it's going to sound good. I was really waiting to install it until I got all this work done. You know how speakers and shops work out. And also the fact that if I can't get it running better than it's running right now, or not running, but driving, I'm going to sell this bad boy. I figure I'd come take all this stuff out. Some other stuff in there you'll see later. Let me go put this in the shop. Make sure this thing cranks and runs good. Alright guys, I'm gonna go for a little quick test drive in the Jeep. I'll try to bring y'all along. I don't feel like hooking all this up for those short rides I'm gonna do. Just want to make sure it's running good enough. I'm gonna drive it about 30 miles to get to the shop. Crank's good. Well, let's see what happens when I take off down the street. Feel how it rides right now. It's terrible. The motor seems fine, but it is it's just a rough ride, and it's just pulling all over the place. I am not looking forward to driving it all the way down there. It feels like there's a lot of stuff loose, and I feel like so I don't think I'm gonna have any issues. But man, I'll turn down one of those side roads here in a minute. It will beat you to death. I doubt y'all can hear me very good. It's very loud in here too. That's to be expected. I'll be honest, I'm one of these guys that once I get to run the top, I'll hardly ever be on this thing. Except in the cold weather. There's a road up here, they're building new construction. We'll go down it. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera or not. But you can definitely feel it in here. It feels like the whole rear end jumps sideways when you hit like a bump. I mean, like a severe jump. Like, I may tomorrow try to put this camera with this magnet up underneath here and see if I can see something. Because I mean, when you crawl under it, the bushings and all look good. They don't look like there's, you know, that's what you kind of think, some bushings are missing or something. But everything else seems to work really good. The transmission seems okay. Well, it seems they fixed this road a little bit, so it's going to be pretty smooth too. I really don't have too much time today, so I'm going to take it on back. Let me park back in this driveway. Scary. I got a 1,600 square foot garage here. So full of junk, we can only squeeze 2 cars in there. Alright, I made it back with this one. Let's go try that one over there. Let's see what happens.